humiliated Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, and they do not care about it. As Delroy Lindo already came out and said that no one from the BAFTAs came up to them, apologized for anything, or even said anything about the whole situation.
African-American rappers saying N-word this and N-word that, but a Caucasian can't.
So say it.
Say what?
Say the word you want to say.
I'm not saying that I want to say it, I'm just saying that I can't.
So you can't.
The BAFTA N-word controversy just flipped again, and now Katt Williams is stepping in, saying this wasn't some awkward mistake at all. It was intentional.
I'm in the production business. I understand what is worth doing for ratings. I understand what is worth doing when the industry is canceling one Black guy. I know what happens when they are going to elevate another. And I know what happens when they don't care about either.
He's claiming it was a straight-up humiliation move meant to remind Black creators where they stand.
The night for a vital part of movie making.
We're here to celebrate the artists who expand.
Tourette syndrome is a disability, and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette syndrome has no control over their language.
And suddenly, the whole situation feels a lot deeper than just John Davidson, the man with Tourette's, shouting that word at Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. That's just the surface story, though. The bigger issue people can't ignore is this. BAFTAs was pre-recorded, and they still chose to air that moment. They had every opportunity to cut it out, clean it up, and protect those actors from being called that word in front of millions watching worldwide.
I'm saying that everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend that seems like a setup is.
It would have still been uncomfortable in the room, no doubt, but blasting it across the globe? That's a decision, not an accident. So now the big question is, why leave it in, especially when we already know parts of the show were edited out? That's where Katt Williams comes in strong. He's saying nothing in entertainment just happens by chance.
I'm saying that everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend that seems like a setup is. In certain ways, things are handled.
From Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl to Will Smith and Chris Rock at the Oscars, and now this moment with Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, he's framing it as a pattern, not random chaos. According to Katt, this isn't messy unpredictability. It's calculated moves, carefully staged moments, meant to send a message about control. He's saying when you're dealing with major platforms like the BAFTAs or the Oscars, nothing on that stage is random. Nothing slips through by mistake. There's too much money, too much power, and too much planning behind the scenes for that. And if that sounds extreme, a lot of people are starting to question things too. The entertainment world has always been tied closely to influence and power, shaping what people see and how they feel. What shows up on screen isn't just content. It's curated, placed, and designed to guide reactions and steer public perception in specific directions. That's why, when it comes to this BAFTAs moment, many aren't buying the idea that it was just a slip-up, especially when Delroy Lindo revealed that nobody from BAFTA even pulled him or Michael aside afterward. That silence is what's raising even more eyebrows. There was no private apology, no real acknowledgement, nothing. The only statement BAFTA gave was aimed at viewers at home, while staying completely silent toward the two Black actors who were actually hit with the slur. Delroy Lindo later told Vanity Fair that he and Michael B. Jordan kept it professional, stayed focused, and did what they came to do on that stage. But even then, Delroy made it clear something was missing. He said he wished someone from BAFTA had come up to them afterward and addressed what happened directly. Instead, it took public backlash for BAFTA to finally respond, and when they did, it felt distant and generic. They said, "We take full responsibility for putting our guests in a very difficult situation, and we apologize to all, while promising to learn from this and keep inclusion at the center of what they do." But look closely. That apology never even mentioned Michael B. Jordan or Delroy Lindo by name. They were reduced to our guests, like they were just random attendees and not the actual presenters doing their job on that stage. That wasn't just any moment. That was their workplace in real time, and the organization running it allowed them to be put in that position on a global broadcast. And instead of speaking to them directly, BAFTA chose to release a polished statement to the public. That's exactly why people are looking at this situation sideways. Because when you have full control, editing speeches, choosing camera angles, scripting every second of a pre-recorded show, but somehow fail to directly acknowledge the people affected, it doesn't feel accidental. And it's not just social media reacting either. People in the industry are speaking up too. Jamie Foxx didn't hold back at all. He went straight to the comments under the clip and said, "Out of all the words you could have said, Tourette's makes you say that? Nah, he meant that. Unacceptable." That reaction alone added even more intensity to the situation. Then award-winning production designer Hannah Beachler, who worked on Sinners, stepped in and suggested this wasn't some one-off moment. She wrote on X, "I keep trying to write about what happened at the BAFTAs, and I can't find the words," making it clear this hit deeper than just a single incident. This situation sounds unreal, but it reportedly happened 3 separate times that night. And one of those moments was even directed at Delroy himself while heading to dinner after the show. That alone has people raising serious questions, because this wasn't just one isolated slip. It kept happening. And then things get even more questionable. Reports say John Davidson had a microphone placed directly in front of him when that word was shouted. Now, think about that. BAFTA knew about his Tourette's and the involuntary tics, yet still positioned him right next to a live mic. And somehow, at that exact moment, 2 black men are standing on stage. And that's when it happens? People are asking, what are the chances of that lining up like that? Like Katt Williams pointed out, these shows are mapped out down to the second. Camera angles are planned, audio is tightly controlled, and every moment is carefully managed because there's too much money and reputation on the line. So when this gets brushed off as a coincidence, a lot of people just aren't buying it. It starts to feel less like an accident and more like something that should have been prevented. Then John Davidson's apology comes out, and instead of clearing things up, it raises even more questions. He said, "I am and always have been, deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary tics to be intentional or to carry any meaning." He also thanked BAFTA for their support and mentioned that the audience had been warned in advance that his tics are involuntary and not a reflection of his beliefs. But once again, there's something missing. He didn't mention Michael B. Jordan or Delroy Lindo by name at all. The statement focused on explaining his condition and the situation, but didn't directly acknowledge the 2 men who were actually affected in that moment. And that's where the frustration keeps building. Nobody expects someone to apologize for having Tourette's. That's not the issue. The issue people keep pointing to is accountability, and the fact that even in the apology, the impact on those 2 actors still wasn't directly addressed. When something you do, intentional or not, causes harm on a global stage, the bare minimum is simple. Acknowledge the people affected by name. That's where a lot of viewers feel this situation fell short, and why it doesn't come across like a genuine mistake to everyone watching. Because for many, this moment fits into a bigger conversation that's been building for years. Some people believe there's a pattern where Black public figures end up embarrassed, disrespected, or placed in uncomfortable situations in very public ways, and this just added more fuel to that discussion. One user on X even laid out their perspective, saying, "Go back year by year. You will see a humiliation ritual for Blacks every Black History Month," and then listed multiple controversial moments from past years to support their claim. They wrote, "I've been trying to warn Black people about this for years. Brace for February impact. Only now do I think people are ready to hear it, making it clear they see this as something bigger than just one event." They also argued that while there's positive public messaging during that time, there's another side that feels disrespectful, saying, "You get the outward public messaging of priority, but behind the scenes, they effing with you," pointing to what they believe is a deeper issue playing out over time. Now, this is where the conversation really splits. Some people see a clear pattern, while others think these moments are being grouped together in a way that doesn't prove intent. But either way, the BAFTA situation has definitely pushed more people to question what really happened. and whether it should have been handled very differently. So, at the end of the day, this situation isn't just about one moment. It's about how it was handled and why so many questions are still left hanging. People aren't just reacting to what happened on that stage, they're reacting to everything that came after it and what didn't happen behind the scenes. Because when names aren't said, when direct accountability feels missing, and when explanations don't fully address the impact, it leaves space for doubt to grow. And that's exactly why this story keeps getting bigger instead of fading out. Now, whether you believe this was just a mistake that spiraled or something that should have never made it to air in the first place, one thing is clear. People are paying attention and they're not letting it slide. But what do you think? Was this just a mishandled situation, or does it feel like something deeper was going on here? Let me know your thoughts below.